Hi guys, DevilHunterXYZ, and this time I'm doing another movie review, and I know it's been quite some time since done one of these, but I decided to go for this movie, known as Kingsman, The Golden Circle, which is, well, obviously the sequel to Kingsman, The Secret Service, and yeah, I gotta say, it's actually not bad of a movie, because I thought it was going to be, more or less kind of a copy and paste kind of scenario, but it actually takes it to a whole new level. Let's just go with that. So let's take a closer look and see. Well, for the summary of Kingsman, well, it's about a year later after the events of the, I guess you can call it the Valentine incident. Well, Eggsy has now acquired the title of Galahad, and he's also living with the Crown Princess Tilde of Sweden. And pretty much it picks up at a random time where, as Eggsy is going home, he ends up encountering Charlie, the former Kingsman trainee, who I guess wanted some revenge at the time. But yeah, so him and Eggsy get into a huge fight, which kind of leads into a huge car chase, and eventually Eggsy does escape. But Charlie's cybernetic arm that he now has manages to hack the servers of Kingsman. And while Eggsy was away out in Sweden, there was a volley of missiles that attack all the locations of the remaining Kingsmen. And at that point, it pretty much took out everyone. That it took out Roxy, his Eggsy's friend, companion. It also even took out the leader of Kingsman himself. So at that time, it was only just Eggsy and Merlin left. And with that, they were trying to follow protocol, which eventually leads them to discovering another organization out in America known as Statesman. And while they're in Statesman, or while they're in Kentucky, the Statesman group unravels a new drug cartel organization known as the Golden Circle. And while there, they have noticed that there are some victims who are accumulating a blue rash around them, and they're trying to discover information as to why this is happening. And while at Statesman, Eggsy and Merlin did discover that Harry Hart actually did survive the gunshot to the face by Valentine in the first movie, and that Statesman actually healed him, although he has suffered amnesia, so he doesn't remember who he is. Then jumping later into the movie, we do see a woman named Poppy Adams, and she pretty much voices out a message to the world that she has laced toxins in all the recreational drugs out there, and that she has the antidote, which she weirdly demonstrated with Elton John. And what she's really after is a kind of a treaty signed by the President of the United States to stop the war against drugs, and to kind of give her immunity to pretty much do whatever she wants. But at the same time, the President, well, he's pretending that to negotiate with Adams, but at the same time, he kind of wants the victims of the drug incident to get killed off, because he considers that a win for the war against drugs. While jumping further into the movie, Eggsy manages to bring back the memory of Harry, so he's back to normal, and at the same time, along with Statesman operative Whiskey, I guess we would call him that, they managed to track down the antidote out in a facility in Italy, and they managed to get a sample of it, but in the end, they ended up losing it during a crossfire between the Statesman and also the Golden Circle. And at the same time, Harry kills, I guess, he shoots Whiskey in the face, because he believes that he is working for someone else, like he's not fully on their side. Well, eventually, after all that, Merlin, Eggsy, and Harry managed to track down Poppy Adams out in Cambodia, and while there, Merlin sacrifices himself with a landmine in order to take out most of the guards at the entrance, and which pretty much leaves Eggsy and Harry to pretty much fend off against all the remaining guards inside the complex, which eventually they do. And afterwards, there's a confrontation between Eggsy and Charlie, one last go around, and then you have Harry going up against two cybernetic canines, and at the same time trying to rescue Elton John. And of course, after all that struggle is over, both of them do confront Poppy Adams to try to force her to give them the password in order to release drones that contain the antidote for the toxins. And they managed to convince her eventually by poisoning her with her own toxin, a more stronger version. And afterwards, she gives him the password, and at the same time, Whiskey soon arrives, and he's trying to put a stop to both Harry and Eggsy, saying that he wants the victims to suffer. Those who use drugs for more of a personal reason than anything else, because he lost his wife due to drug addicts and stuff like that. But both Eggsy and Harry managed to take him down, and they managed to release the drones to save everyone who uses all the drugs. And I guess jumping into the aftermath of the whole story, the president of the United States gets impeached. Eggsy gets married to the Princess of Sweden, and the Kingsman organization gets reestablished out in Scotland with new members entering the organization. Well, for the pros of the movie, one thing I can say indefinitely is the loads of amount of action that are in this movie. In a way, I would say this is kind of like James Bond, but with a lot more action, and kind of more or less kind of a chaotic feel to it, where you have the shakiness of the camera, the slow-mo, dramatic angles. It kind of really puts a good emphasis on of action. Second, I would say, plot-wise, I don't think you really have to see the first movie to really understand this one. I mean, while it does kind of make some references to the first movie, it's pretty much almost a completely independent story itself, where you don't really need to understand the first movie to really go into the second, which, I mean, it's a good thing, for those who haven't really seen the first movie. And, third, I would probably say, I guess theme-wise, I actually do like the plot of the movie itself. How it's kind of like the rise, how the organization starts out on top and it gets crumbled down, but then it's pretty much progressively building back up again and trying to reconstruct itself, and at the same time trying to save the world in the meantime. And I kind of open up to other organizations and other character backgrounds. It's trying to branch out into different paths. Well, for the cons, there's only two that I can really think of on the top of my head to maybe bring this movie a little bit down. And I guess first is probably the characters, and by that I mean like some of the new characters and reoccurring characters. They're just more or less here and there. I mean, like having Roxy and I guess the dog JB. I mean, from the first movie, they were only there for a very brief moment and really made no impact to the movie whatsoever. I mean, yeah, considering the fact they were killed off in the beginning, and I mean, which was kind of sad considering they were more memorable in the first movie. And then, of course, some of the new ones here, like tequila and whiskey and champagne. Pretty much everyone from the Statesman, and also the main villain, Poppy Adams. they just don't seem to leave much of an impact as well. I mean, they just seem there. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain, but they don't really make a huge impact to the whole plot of the movie itself. Then the second, I would probably say the fact that this movie leads a little bit more towards humor than the first movie. I mean, the movies themselves are never really played out as a serious tone, but at the same time, they kind of try to have a little bit of a charm, a little bit of a British charm to it, kind of like James Bond. But here, it's kind of more or less leading into a humorous effect, which kind of makes it a little bit almost childish at times. So, I don't know. It's just, relying a little too much on the humor factor there. Well, overall, Kingsman: The Golden Circle, I would say it's actually a pretty good movie. While it does change up the elements, make some things better, and well, at the same time, it kind of lowers some of the elements in certain aspects of the film, it's still a pretty good movie nonetheless. And I would say it's actually worth watching at least once. Especially those who are into those secret agent type of movies with a lot of action in it. I mean, this is home for you right here. And with that, I would give this movie a final score of an 8 out of 10. So, I mean, like I said, it's worth watching, and we're really not gonna be that disappointed with it, especially those who enjoy a lot of action flicks to begin with. All right, guys, this is DevilHunterXYZ, and until next time.